the king of kings.
Welcome to another edition of the King's Couch. I'm your host, Sulo King, and today I come to you live from, you're based in New York, right?
Yeah, in New York.
Yeah, with Scott Monahan. I just stumbled across this amazing actor and director when I was randomly scrolling through Prime a few weeks ago and came across his directorial debut, which is an amazing film called Anchorage, and I encourage all of you to check it out. And here he is, a few weeks later. I got him on the show, and I'm stoked to have him on. So,
Yeah,
how are
man.
you, Scott?
I'm doing good. Thanks for having me on. I'm glad you stumbled across us on Amazon. How'd you find us?
Well, I'm a huge cinephile. I chose to work in the music industry instead of going in the film industry. Uh,
Yeah.
and that's kind of a funny story because my cousin, he looked at me and he was going down that career path, and he's a sound editor for like feature films and video games now. He's
Oh,
like,
cool.
Sulo, do you want to have a life? You're too social. I think you'd be better off working in the music industry. And
Nice.
he was absolutely right. And I had an amazing 20 years doing that before I got into my current role as a health and wellness coach. I'm
Oh,
still a
great.
musician. I have a band and a solo recording project that I like to do. And every once in a while, I go back into that world and throw events and whatnot. And, it's still there. But during COVID, I had to make, the smart decision. Uh, you know, do I go with something steady or do I wait this out? So
Yeah.
yeah, I chose this path. I'm
There
working
you
as
go.
a health and wellness coach at a integrative medical facility here in San Diego.
Oh, that's incredible.
Yeah. So how long have you been in the industry for? Let's go back to the start here for you.
Well, I started it as a kid. My parents were in the military, and we were stationed on an Air Force base in Japan, Yokota Air Force Base. And they had modeling agents come to the base to audition kids to see if they could do like modeling jobs in Japan while I was there. I was there from 1999 to '06, so when I was like 10 to 17. Um, and that's kind of where it started, I guess. But at the time, I was just a kid that was doing commercials and music videos and stuff. I wasn't really thinking about it as a career. It was just a way to buy like candy for my friends and roller skates. And just my parents let me spend the money. So it was awesome for me. Did like a Sony, insurance commercial and made like 6 grand as a kid. And I was like, holy shit, man, we're buying skates, we're buying uh
At what age was
computers.
this? Sorry.
So from 10 to like I was 10 to like 17, yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, so that it kind of started there, and then when I was in college, I switched into the program. I went to college to play soccer, and then switched into the acting program there. And yeah, so that was I graduated in 2011 and moved out to LA right after, and just kind of got working and got auditioning, got an agent, did a Pepsi commercial, did a I had a small spot on anger management with Charlie Sheen, this like small scene, and I was like a year in creatively in the industry, and I wasn't doing anything that was really creatively fulfilling me at the time.
Right.
And then so I fell into this kind of underground theater collective and bopped around from different ones for a couple years, and in that we I developed like by the collaboratively devised processes we were using in theater, a
Mm.
way in which I wanted to take that into making a movie. Um, and I also met the other co-lead and writer of the film, Dakota Loesch, in one of those in the warehouse art scene. And I saw him in a performance, and then we did about like 4 or 5 shows together. But we never had a chance to we were just like, there's never going to be a chance that somebody's going to cast the two of us. Nobody knows who we are
Mm.
in a movie that gets to do what we want to do. So what if we wrote it? Um, and I had an idea for a short film that I wanted to explore with him, and he had written a script already for something else. And then we started talking about shared visions and shared ideas and things that we were drawn to from our past and things we were trying to process through our art. which is something that we both do. I think we both use art as a way to process uh, things in our life that are hard to kind of encapsulate into, which I'm sure you can relate with as an
Oh,
artist.
yeah. I'm a singer, so I mean that's like the most
Yeah.
cathartic
Oh,
there
yeah.
there there is, and you got to find your own like way to have that kind of creative outlet, you know.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, and how that comes out for you. I mean, as a singer, I think that's something maybe more closer to like a stage actor or something where you have this thing you have to keep going back to in repetition. And on this shoot especially, but in filmmaking, you really only get that one chance, which is my love of theater is that repetition that you get to dive back into things and put a little new color on it. In filmmaking, it's so precious that time on set. I mean, especially for us. But yeah, Dakota and I started working on the film as a short, and I had been, a part of a bunch of short films and features and stuff like that throughout my career. So
Mhm.
I knew what it was like to be on set. I knew what type of directors I liked working with and what type of experience I would want to have making the movie. And we were developing the short, and a cinematographer kind of fell through with their scheduling. And so we had more time to develop it into a feature. So we developed it. And by the time we got there, I'd already been doing the pre-production. I'd already been producing. I had a very small amount of money. And I just didn't feel like I wanted to hand it off to somebody to direct. So I didn't know, I'd never directed a feature before. I didn't know any of the other steps. All that I did was like, I went to the library and I took out this book on like directing 101,
I love
and
it.
I just opened it up and there was this book about building your crew. And I was like, I know how to do that. And just kind of shut the book and was like, all right, let's do this thing. And I think that tunnel vision really helped me to not really see all the other things and just ask myself, can I act and direct at the same time? And how best can I do that and pull that off? Who has done it before me? And I can talk to people and see where they spent their money on their film and from a producing angle and find ways that would reduce the amount of stress I was feeling on set.
Right. Yeah,
So
that's
just kind of
incredible.
winged it and it turned out pretty well.
I'll say, yeah. I mean, like I said, I've never heard of a movie shot like that in 5 days. And I mean, the acting was top notch.
Thank
And
you.
especially when it's just you and one other character. I mean, you had very few interactions with other people in this film.
Yeah.
So it was very character driven and,
Yeah.
just going over the whole like human condition of it all, and I'm sure anyone that's battled addiction that sees this film, if you,
Yeah.
haven't seen this film already, you guys could definitely like relate to what these characters are going through. Uh,
Yeah, I mean, Dakota and I used to always say that that's who we were making the film for.
right,
We lost friends to opioid overdose. We've had our own brushes against that addiction ourselves. And, a lot of movies are made about addiction. Um, they focus on having the character be in a rehabilitation program or as some kind of way to maybe give the audience empathy, a way in to understand and maybe have empathy for this character. But for us, we thought it was important to show these two people in the throes of their addiction, and that's what this movie's about. If you don't know, it's about two brothers that are driving a trunk full of opioids from Florida to Alaska to get rich. And we start the story at the tail end of their trip when they made it all the way up to Death Valley in California. And, if you've ever been on a road trip with anybody or on tour, when you've been driving for 2 weeks, bopping around from town to town, especially these two, there's a lot of stuff that builds up along the way. If you can imagine what it's like over these couple of days we see them like in the film, you imagine what the rest of their trip was probably like,
right,
what John might have done, what Jacob might have done, and what they were running from. But yeah, we shot the film in 5 days, which is insane. And actually, we shot it in four. The principal photography was shot in four, and then the rest of the team left. And on the fifth day, it was a half day, and me, Dakota, and Aaron, our cinematographer, drove back and got B-roll, basically shooting in the reverse order of everything that we had shot on the way in. But the way that we shot it in 5 days is not, and we made it for 22,500 was how much we had. I had
Wow.
$12,000 cash. I had $10,000 and then I sold some jewelry and got 2,500 bucks. That's a movie in itself. And then I had two credit cards that I put 5 grand on each. And so we made it for 22.5. And I built it around what the tools that I had. And so what I had was time with Dakota to rehearse. We had infinite time. We were making this together. I had the time to make the script really good with him. I had the time to plan everything out and think about things and stage them and do location scouting. And we shot it chronologically. And that happened not by an initial idea. It just happened by us finding on our location scout the locations that we love so much, from that first Air Force base to that house to the baseball field and then on to the mill and beyond. They happen to be in a chronological location on a map. So I was like, oh, we can shoot that way and we don't have to worry about, if we're shooting chronologically, we don't have to worry about coverage or time of day. And anything that we find along the way, we can just add in. Because as you know, if you're on tour or you're doing a show or something, there's always something, a little lick, a guitar thing, something that might come up that we're like, oh, let's use that on the next show, or let's make that part of the song.
Yeah,
Um,
100%.
and when you're shooting chronologically, you get to do that, which is really
Yeah,
fun. And it gives you a little bit of that feeling of being in the car with them and experiencing that with them from the crew's point of view and also for Dakota and I as actors.
that's amazing. Yeah, I can definitely relate to what you're saying. The whole process of putting something together. There's so
Mhm.
many different ways you can structure it. I like to do things chronologically. It just makes more sense. But
Yeah.
when you're riding with a bunch of other people, sometimes you got to take a little bit of a back seat and
Hmm.
see what they want to do and the approach they want to do. I've shot a few videos for the band I've had for like this year. This fall marks 20 years of doing it. Uh,
Wow, that's awesome.
Punk rock band based here
Yeah.
in San Diego called Authentic Sellout. And we shot at a pretty crazy, we shot in the desert twice. I did
Yeah.
once for my solo project and then once for the band. And the initial shoot we did in 2017 was insane because we got booked to play this festival. It's kind of like Burning Man, but it's
Mhm.
post-apocalyptic themed after the Mad Max movie series. It's called
Oh,
Wasteland
cool.
Weekend. And it's set
Oh, cool.
like kind of by the California Air Base. I mean, they give you like literal coordinates, like that you have to enter into your GPS to find it.
Yeah.
And you have to drive like 5 miles into the desert. And they have this permanent base with all these structures. They have the Thunderdome from the films. And
Wow.
I'll send you a link so you can check out the video. It was absolutely insane.
That
And
sounds wild.
yeah, luckily it was in September, when the festival was late September, so it wasn't very hot out there.
Oh,
Uh,
that's good. Yeah.
yeah. Um, the second video I just did last summer, I did that in
Wow.
Borrego Springs, and I gotta tell you, man, that was the worst decision I've ever made, but I had to get it done. I did it for the love of the art, right?
Yeah,
It
yeah.
kept dragging it on, and I was like, let's just do this. I want to get it done, before Comic Con. I got some people that want to check it out, at least see a teaser or something.
Yeah, yeah.
So we did it like totally guerrilla style. It was originally going to be a 2 day shoot. We had to trim it down to one. And
Yeah. We're
people were
flying.
one guy got a heat stroke when we were out there. It was like
Oh my gosh.
who knows how many degrees, 112 plus, it felt like
That's crazy.
120. But we got it done. And it's not exactly what I wanted to nail because we had to cut
Yeah.
out a lot. But from what we were able to put together and shoot, it came out amazing, and I'm proud of it. You got to be proud of your work regardless. It's never 100% gonna like come out the way you initially envision it. You know,
Yeah. I
execute
think
something.
I think the goal is to try to get as close as you can.
Yeah,
It's like it's like that thing in statistics or whatever, that number that never fully hits zero. It's just like always getting closer and closer, but it never touches the line.
right.
I think that Anchorage is as close to as I envisioned it as possible. A lot of people will ask you when you go. I mean, we went to 18 film festivals and won 14 awards and I don't know how many nominations, but we were basically winning something at every festival we went to. It was a totally unprecedented experience. And if it happens to you once in your life, you're lucky with a film. And we got it was an incredible experience. And but when I watched the movie and we were in Q&As, a lot of people say, what would you change or what did you wish you have? And the movie is exactly there's it the shoot itself went better than I imagined it would. There was all these things I was prepared for. When you're shooting without a permit and you're shooting in the desert at these kind of defunct graffiti locations, you never know what can happen.
Right.
We went out on one of our location scouts. There was somebody in the main house, what we call like it's called hobo pool house is I guess what we
Mhm.
call it, but where there's the empty pool. And we were
Oh
taking our
yeah, I
cinema,
remember that scene. Yeah.
yeah, we were
Yeah.
taking our cinematographer to look at it, and there was somebody in there, so we had to come back and or yeah, so I think that there's something about just getting out there and doing it and remembering. For me, it's like the thing. I don't know how you think about creativity or time or anything, but if time isn't linear, then there's somewhere where this film already exists, and we're just working our best. And as a director, you're trying to work your best to listen to those cues to get you to the best version of that film. Because I think maybe splinters off into different realities or something like that. And on set for me, one of the most important things is just it's such a precious experience. It's the smallest part. We shot the movie for 5 days in January, and we spent 6 months working on it in post,
Mm.
and then we spent you know, 6 months waiting for festival responses and then 2 years touring it. And then, you know what I mean? There's all this other time that happens and everything is kind of based off and in memory of and in preservation of the shoot days, those small days that you had on set. So I think it's really important to feed the crew well and make sure everyone feels safe, treat everyone with respect. And there's a lot of good ideas that come in the room, even if it's not the right idea for the film or for the shot. It might be just what you need to hear to get you onto the right track that you were off of. But
Right.
I'm definitely not the type of person that's scared of saying or afraid of saying, I don't know, because I think those words really unlock creativity in people and allow them to feel like not feel like they are part of something. They are a part of the same thing,
Mm.
you know? So, yeah, I don't know. When I think about making this movie, it was just, to go back to the addiction angle, the tour of this movie when we went around, because there's one thing of how you make the film and then what you think about it, and then there's when you bring it to the audiences and you see what their reactions are to the film. And a lot of our Q&As around the world ended up being, in some ways, small therapy sessions, either for me or for other people in the room that wanted to share about either during the Q&A or afterwards pull me aside and talk about addiction within their family or something that they had battled. Um, so it's like getting that part right, I think also created a film that can be a little challenging maybe for the industry to accept in a way that's maybe doesn't know that as a first-time filmmaker that we were aware of what we were doing or the nuance in which we were saying we're not trying to idolize these characters. We're not trying to lift them up as cool or as this like counterculture like swag. It's
Right.
like they're operating out of a lot of pain and whatever addiction and whatever causes of that came from the opioid boom that happened in the early 2000s, which is loosely what we talk about, like when this movie is set and whatever things that they're running from and violence they're dealing with in their own lives. These are flawed characters that are human. I mean, I remember we were doing our color correction and they can do this thing that gives you like that Paris filter, that like beauty pass. And we were like,
Mm-mm.
we want to see the pores. Let us see the dirt in their
Yeah. Was
fingernails,
this about drug addicts?
Yeah, let's go the opposite direction.
This isn't a
Uh,
faction shoot.
yeah, no, we wanted to show the real stuff. And I think
There you
I think that's the stuff that I'm like the most proud of when I look at this film is
Right.
that we really committed to a vision. And basically for me it started to come to me into my dreams, which is also represented in the film itself.
Mm.
uh Creativity comes to me through my dreams a lot, and I can really see it. I'm a very visual person.
Yeah.
Um, and the aesthetic of this film just became very clear. The colors, the car, the cigarettes, the ashtray, like all these little pieces were becoming this larger painting that Dakota and I were painting together using
Mm,
word association or talking about shared films like Mikey and Nikki, like good like two-handers that we love that we could in our own way, add to that, add
right.
to that, add to the world that we love so much. Because I think, sorry, I'm kind of rambling, but I
Okay.
think that as filmmakers and as artists, we feel like we are owed so much from these industries, right? From the film industry, from the music industry, from whatever it is. Um, but I think that like what I'm the way I have to process the how this happens or reactions to the film or all those things is that I'm giving something to it. And that's the gift, is like that's how much it's giving to me as I get to be a part of it. Um, and so this making this movie gave me so much.
Mm,
And I just tried to give the best piece of contribution to, cinema that I knew how to make,
right.
you know.
Yeah, you definitely succeeded, man.
Thanks.
I mean, I said I've watched a ton of independent movies where I'm just like, and I'm never gonna sit there and be one of those IMDb critics and just
Yeah.
completely butcher art.
Dog the film.
Yeah, I appreciate the fact, the energy, the amount of time spent doing this. I mean, just putting a 4.5 minute music video together,
Yeah.
took us like 4 to 6 months to
Yeah.
finally complete. You
Yeah,
know,
I mean, yeah, a lot of filmmakers cut their teeth in music videos, and I think they learn a lot from that because it's similar to short films in some ways. It's a way to master some how to tell a story, and then you have this other layer of music, which is something that I'm not a musician myself, but I love music, and I have yeah, I just love it. Everything from punk and everything to
same.
and that's kind of what I like about film is that it gives you this it's one container, right? That gets to have a bunch of different artistic modalities
Well,
inside of it. Is that your dog?
yeah, you must have heard something outside. Oh,
So you
I'm
get
sorry.
to like the film is a medium that if you're kind of in a position as an independent filmmaker or an independent musician, you get to decide all those things. I
Right.
guess it's kind of a lot of my friends are in like indie bands and they talked about what their concerns or their frustrations or their budget levels or their involvement and all the hats that they wore. It's kind of similar making an indie film to making an indie album. You have to do your own, album cover, your CD cover. If you want t-shirts, you got to design it and you got to print them. You have to figure out all these things and it gets to be a way that you can take a creative idea and express it through all these different modalities,
Right.
um, which is so much fun,
And that's
which
what I
is what
love
it's all
about.
about, right? Like it's supposed
Right.
to be fun.
Exactly. And I don't look at it as even when I was in the mess behind the scenes, all that, I never looked at it as just a job. I'm
Yeah,
blessed every single day. I'm doing what I love. You're gonna make mistakes along the way. I
for
mean,
sure.
there's no perfection.
I
Uh,
think that mistakes are like so, especially now, there's just like this polish and veneer on all these things. I think that the mistakes, and especially, with everything that's going on with I think that people are starting to embrace that messiness a little bit more
right.
and start to be like, oh, I actually appreciate being able to see that somebody made this and that it's not perfect.
Hmm.
When I see films that have, I mean, I think with Anchorage, I was really when we raised about 16 grand for post-production.
Okay.
And the thing that I wanted to make sure with the film was that we didn't have anything that you could point at it and say, this is a tiny little indie film. Like not the color, not the editing, not the sound design, not the score, not the camera work, not the performances. I wanted the only thing that was indie about it was the fact that how we made it. But I wanted it to look like every other movie, like a motion picture, like a real movie, you
Yeah.
know?
The
Um,
trailer sold me I mean, that
oh, dude.
is, in my opinion, a sizzle reel trailer. Whatever
Yeah,
you're trying to sell to the
yeah,
audience, is the most crucial thing.
Yeah, for sure.
Some
Yeah,
people
it's
will take a gamble, but if you have an amazing trailer, people are
yeah.
going to watch that film regardless.
Hell yeah, dude. A friend, a guy I met at a party actually, Spencer, uh, he edited that, and we had this other trailer. You can look it up if you look up our teaser trailer
Mm.
that was centered around Flee Fly Flow. I love our teaser trailer.
Okay.
I made it with our one of our producers, Taylor Harrington, and we cut this thing together. And we used that trailer for festivals for like 2 years. And then
Right.
when it was time to release the movie, we had to make the movie trailer.
Right.
And that the other one was kind of a bit of a teaser, but I couldn't get my head into the space of something new. I just had no idea how to like repackage the thing. And I met this guy at a party, and I just mentioned that I was trying to edit a trailer, and he was like, "Oh, that's what I do." And he basically does all these Marvel and like these cinematic like bumpers and like these shorter kind of and longer stuff as well. And I was like, "Well, look, dude, I'll send you my movie if you like it. We'll talk." And he checked it out, and he was like, "I would love to edit this for you. Like, when can I start?"
Wow.
And
Right.
and it was really awesome. So I sent him the movie, and what he gave back to me was a version. Everything, it comes back to you, and you have to adjust and like tweak and stuff. But what came back to me was a really brilliant way of using the eulogy scene as part of the trailer to create this little suspense within it.
Right.
Um, our
Yeah,
editor
because
found,
it leaves that kind of like cliffhanger, like, okay, what's going to happen with these characters?
yeah,
What's
yeah,
going
yeah,
on
yeah.
here? Yeah.
And then the music gets to kick in, and we get I had our graphic designer Jens do like modern punk Godot and like those kind of like quotes in there. Yeah, it's really fun. I love that trailer, man. I mean, I have a deck that I'll send you after this, and it kind of has like our whole world of like where we went to with festivals and how we traveled and all that kind of stuff. But
Yeah.
it was fun, man. Along the way, you get to pick up collaborators and um, you get to, I worked with a graphic designer in Germany. He designed our poster and those things I just talked about and a lot of our social media stuff. And now I work with him on everything. And he's gotten a lot of work from people seeing my movie and asking who did our marketing assets. And so yeah,
I can relate to that. Yeah.
it was a very
You-
it was the world of that movie was very easy to market. I can understand,
Oh,
you know what I
I can
mean?
see that.
It's like
Yeah, I'm
there's
turning on like everyone I know to,
yeah. Oh man,
especially
I
my
really
musician
appreciate
friends.
that. That's one of the reasons, I think independent art, whether it's music or painters or anything, all lives and dies by word of mouth. Like real genuine people saying, "I watched this movie and I like it." And I think that sometimes the marketing of big budget movies is missing that element of like get people there.
Right.
And I think that is actually right now what, as far as independent releases and larger releases too, are doing is longer form, either podcasts or they are showing up and Q&Aing at screenings, and that kind of stuff really draws people in, and you get to actually understand the film. And then, if you're lucky, you have people that love your film and talk to their friends about it
Yeah.
because and it's available. If you have Amazon Prime, it's free
Watch it
on there
free.
right
Yeah.
now.
That's
Uh,
exactly how I found it. Like I said, I go on these binges, and I do
yeah,
it for like everything, because
yeah,
I'm so like hyper analytical, and
uh-huh.
it takes me forever to decide to do like the simplest things, like, what type of shoe do I want to wear today?
I can
But
relate. Yeah,
when I saw the trailer, like I said earlier, I was just completely engaged. I was like, I want to watch this movie like right now. And I played it
oh
right then
yeah,
and there. And I sat
cool.
down, and I'll be honest with you, man. Like, there's a few moments where it really hit me. You know what I mean? And
Mhm.
I teared up a little bit. The scene where you took out the baseball bat. I think that was after where I don't want to spoil too much, for people who
Yeah,
haven't seen it, but
yeah,
uh,
yeah,
where you had that encounter with the your brother was trying to, uh,
yeah.
you know
That's not too much of a spoiler. John
yeah,
gets
yeah,
in trouble, and
roughly.
I try to save him.
Yeah, you try to save him, and then you're sitting there hitting rocks with the baseball bat. I used to do the same thing when I was a kid.
Dude. Yeah,
And
exactly.
I
I just
just
got I
I
just got chills because that it means a lot to me that those small things like that,
mm,
and not small at all. I mean, that's a big that moment of my life is sitting and hitting rocks and trying to like process something at a ball field, like you know what I mean? And like,
same.
uh,
I played baseball for 10 years growing up,
oh
and I
no way.
just recently got back into like going to the batting cages
Oh,
and
that's
whatnot.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm glad that it touched you, man. I think that the film is very personal, you know. I That's how Dakota and I put a lot of ourselves into that film.
I'm glad you said that because that was one of the questions I've been waiting to ask you. What gave you the idea to do this film? Was there anything from your personal life between you and
Yeah.
Dakota that inspired, these characters that you created?
Yeah, so I can only speak to myself and do my best with Dakota, but you know, I the idea came from I was raised in like a very like religious household growing up, and then also add military into that as well. My father was very into, you know, Bible study and like reading the Bible in the morning and all that kind of stuff. And there's a lot of parables in that Bible. I don't want to say which one, but there's a lot of like stories in there that you just kind of get burned into your head and you see it in a cartoon version and then you read it and then you hear about it in church and they become these kind of bigger like mythic tales almost like the Odyssey or something where and so I had this idea to explore one of those stories with Dakota in the desert, and just it was initially going to be just kind of more of like a movement piece and more theatrical and more experimental. And then as we started developing it, it started turning more into a 1970s inspired like crime thriller drama, like Easy Rider kind of. Um, but the character Jacob himself definitely comes from a version of myself that I was becoming in like a resistance to the rigid structure of my upbringing.
Right.
And I went to college and got into a lot of trouble, and was, you know, just selling drugs and stealing and just like processing my whole life, my relationship to violence that had been fostered by, you know, sports and men, and also some of my childhood growing up. And uh, there was this thing that my mom told me as like a kid that she said that your conscience is a voice that gets quieter the less you listen to it and louder the more you listen to it.
Wise.
And so for this movie, I thought that for Jacob's kind of through line was that voice that he has been pushing down in himself for a long time was he was starting to listen to it. And he was starting to maybe even hear it for the first time in a long time. And
I picked that up actually watching the film. I see what you're saying now. Yeah.
really,
Yeah. Yeah.
okay, cool. Heck yeah. And so, you know, he was I mean, obviously he still has his flashes of rage that exist in there, but he's, you know, he's processing a lot of pain, and his own addiction is in relation to his brothers. I think his is, I don't think he's as in it. I don't think he's as potentially as um trapped in that as his brother is. Maybe he's on his way out.
Well, that
Um,
baseball scene, I felt like that was part of the whole dichotomy of processing those things.
yeah,
Like you
yeah,
needed your time away from your brother because you're glued to him
mhm,
this
yeah,
entire road trip, and he's obviously, just messing things up already and
yeah,
frustrating you. And you're like, is this worth it? Do I want to take the risk? I mean, eh, I could go to the prison for the rest of my life. I could get robbed. I could get killed. I mean, there's so much that you didn't
yeah,
even have to say in dialogue
yeah.
that the acting, it spoke through,
Oh, thanks, man. I mean,
Yeah.
Dakota and I really spent a lot of time talking about when when we were creating these characters, you know, Jacob being blue was because we found a Crown Victoria that was blue.
Mm.
And I was like, oh, this is cool. And then what if he had a blue jacket? And what if he had blue hair? What if Jacob is blue and John is red and black? and it's like red, black, and blue as opposed to like red, white, and blue because opioid in America, all that stuff.
Right.
And so then we started finding ways that one would zig and the other would zag. Well, if I do it this way, what do you do? If I smoke cigarettes this way, if I'm driving facing forward, are you facing back? What separates and differentiates those people? And
Right.
that's one of the things that you have when you're an independent project and you are the both the actors, the writer, the director, and the producers. You get to really get into the nitty-gritty of the decisions you're making and really build out that world around these two characters
Right.
because there are no other distractions, really. There's just these two guys. And every little thing you put into an 80-minute film is helping you tell your story. And being a visual person, I like watching movies that don't have a lot of dialogue and plot. I love talking movies or
Same.
Sorkin kind of things, but I really like these movies that say a lot without saying a lot, Blue Ruin is a really incredible film if you've never seen that. It's a revenge
Yep.
story set in
Okay.
Virginia somewhere.
I'll have to check that out.
Um, but so in that scene, at the end of it, John, they're celebrating. They have this. They kind of get back on the same page, and then it's John's idea to you know do some more opiates, and he's just
Right.
like, dude, I'm already high. I'm like he's so you see this kind of divide that starts happening, which
Right.
is sad because those moments happen sometimes at the highest points of your life with a friend or something when you're seeing that the path that they're headed on and maybe you can't save them from. Or we had a couple of interpretations of the film where somebody was like, oh, Jacob is out there on his own and this is him dealing with his own addiction and but that was just somebody else's idea for us,
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and two, like, everyone's gonna have their own interpretation of how the film is represented. We
Yeah.
get a lot of that with the music that we write, you
Oh,
know.
for sure. I
Yeah.
bet.
So I definitely know how you feel. And out of the three like music videos that I've done, um, talking about how we let the music, tell a story, but you
Yeah.
pay attention to the lyrics, and whether you did or you didn't, you can kind of, it was a silent film in a sense.
Yeah. I
So it
see
was
what
a
you're
song
saying.
called Cemetery. We shot it at San Diego's oldest cemetery. I mean, they had tombstones going back to the 1800s.
Wow.
Pulled a film permit to do it because we wanted to obviously be very respectful.
For sure.
And talking about how you met your editor at a party. I used to own and operate a recording and rehearsal studio here in San Diego,
Okay.
and a radio station would bring in these big touring names, and we do a 4 or 5 hour session where we record like 3 or 4 of their songs, sometimes strip it down acoustically, and they have a film crew there. So I met these two guys um, that were just like hired guns, and they worked met doing that, and they had teamed up on different projects. And one day after one of the sessions, I asked him, I was like, hey, have you guys ever made a music video before? He's like, well, I've done a concert film, but no. He's like, what? That sounds interesting. Tell me more. I was like, let's go to lunch, sit down and talk. And that was almost 10 years ago.
Wow.
And so when it came time to do this video, Cemetery, it was my turn, to really pull out like the director's chair.
Yeah.
Because the first song, I let my lead guitar player, that's your vision. Hey, we're booked here. Then we get to Wasteland Weekend. We had to throw out the everything we designed because there was
Yeah.
so much going on, and we were making scenes up on the fly. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But with this, it was very structured, and we did it in a 14-hour shoot.
Oh,
Uh,
cool.
and we started out at the cemetery, and it was really eerie because Eddie Van Halen passed away, and the news was hitting our
Oh,
phones right
wow.
when we're like getting ready to shoot like scenes in front of tombstones and whatnot.
Yeah.
Yeah, and the whole film, and I'll send you a link for you to check it out because I love like to hear your feedback on what you think, and
Yeah,
I've
for
sent it
sure.
to some of the other industry friends like my cousin and James Marandino, who did SLC Punk. Um,
Oh, nice.
yeah, he gave me some
That was
really
a big SLC Punk was a big that influence for us for
Evo
sure.
character. I saw that in you. That was like one of the
Yeah.
first things I
Yeah.
thought. I was like, I wonder if he knows the movie SLC Punk. I
Oh,
hope
of
that.
course, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Dakota was raised on that. Dakota's, you know, he's a poet, he's a theater artist, he's been in punk bands, touring punk bands for, most of his life, and now he's making his own feature. So, but the punk blood is coursing through his veins for
He
sure.
lives in New York, so I should link you guys up.
Oh, the guy from I
Uh,
thought,
The, the, the director, James Marandino.
oh,
Yeah.
oh, no way,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah.
Oh
Uh,
man, I would love for him to see the movie.
yeah.
That would be so cool. We could talk about that world, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, that's cool, man. I think it's getting in there and getting to put, I guess, put the director's chair on and create your vision as you want to is can be it can be an intimidating experience, but it can also be I don't know. There's something for me that I think I'm always going to be an actor, and I never had really. I had directed some plays and um, some performance art kind of things, but I had never directed. I directed like one little short film, but I wasn't thinking about it as a career path. I didn't
Right.
think. I thought that my role was in front of the camera.
What really inspired you to want to direct your own film?
I think with this one, it was. Maybe it's like a control thing, but I just had the film right in my ear. You know what I mean? I was the translator of this thing. It was
It's more
speaking
like
right.
creative control in that
Yeah.
sense. Yeah,
Well,
like
and
going back to you talking about working on, set and the pressures and whatnot.
yeah,
Yeah, I feel
but
you.
I think also it's just clarity of vision. It was coming from me through me in Dakota and in this way that was just I didn't want to have to be on set
Mm,
and know that there was a disconnect happening or be I was like I can bear the pressure of having to do both of these things at the same time. Also, I brought my partner Meredith Trinan who I've been in a couple of her immersive shows. She's a director in her own right
okay.
and a producer, and I brought her out to help take that vision and bring it to life and to give me perspective on myself and ourselves while I was in the scene. Because I think sometimes what I've seen in some where it can be a trap is you don't get to, no one's telling you, hey, director, actor, that take wasn't good. You're, and from a character point. And so Meredith knew me very well and knew the story well. And Dakota and I had worked with us both. We were all in a company together called Ceaseless Fun. So having her there was integral in allowing me to be in the scene and knowing that we were still in good hands.
Right.
Because you have to be able to turn off that brain to embody a character.
Mm,
And I think I have a technique that I've just worked on my own that sometimes can be more like a switch, which can be very helpful for something like that, for me to be able to switch into the director brain and then switch into the actor brain and then switch the producer line out. Um, I think that I utilize that in my life. And I think when I was starting to work on the film, I was like, oh, this is a skill set that works really well for this.
right.
I don't know that I'll always act and direct in my own movies, but right now, I'm not auditioning for the movies or projects that I want to be in yet. It so rarely happens. So,
Right.
um, if I made 5 films in my entire life and I was in all of them and I got to, be like, yeah, these 5 movies, I don't know, like that would be enough for me.
No, I feel you.
Because also for me, it becomes this larger thing. You get to build the music of the film and create all these other artistic modalities. It really gives you this ability to kind of push all these levers at the same time, as opposed to just kind of focusing on this one thing. Like, I want to be an actor. It's like, oh, actually, I'm a great producer. I'm a good director. All this. I'm a writer. I can edit. All these other skill sets get to get their own information, understand distribution and theatrical releasing and all that stuff.
Oh yeah. Yeah. That's why I did many different things. I was kind of a
Yeah.
jack of all trades. And if there
Yeah.
was one certain thing, I watched all these people, that are lifers in their careers. Like my cousin's a
Mhm.
great example. He's a sound editor, and he was just telling me like, a year ago, he's like, man, I want to get out like sometime in my mid 50s in the next 10 years. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know how much longer I want to be doing this. It's grueling and you have these crazy schedules. And I always remind him of that story. I was like, I know that's why I'm so thankful that you steered me in a different direction because you said
Yeah.
something really key. You know, if you ever want to put your hands into this industry, they go kind of hand in hand.
Yeah.
And you are great at making connections with people.
Yeah.
Like,
That's an important thing. I mean, I'm working with the guys that I'm working with on my next film. A couple of them are like musicians or come from that band world because we're
right.
working on the sound design right now.
That's actually a
Um,
big segue too, where we can get into your next film that you have
yeah,
in
for sure.
production.
Yeah, it's called the next film is called Margot and Julian. It's also a two-hander, but it's a man and a woman this time, starring me and
Mhm.
this actress Madison Lannacy. She's incredible. And yeah, that one it's an experimental process. We went in with more of an outline and some note cards of what the story was going to be, and then used a lot of our collaborative devising and site responsive theatrical techniques to build the story while we were there, which was really exciting. We also shot it chronologically, shot it in Oregon. I doubled the production time on this one just for my own peace of mind, and we shot
Right.
it for 10 days with a 2-day break in between.
Yeah, act like that's
Um,
a long time.
There's
That's
still
still
not a
very
lot of
impressive
time.
too.
I know. I was like, man, it was a long shoot. We had 10 days. People are like, you're crazy, dude.
I love it
Um,
though.
there's never enough time. I also thought that doubling the time would mean that there would be like the movie would be an hour and 40 minutes or something like that. But somehow I landed on pretty much exactly 80 minutes again, which is a movie length that I really love
Mhm.
because if I see that something's 80 minutes, even 70, I'm like, I can watch this right now. I can
Yeah,
watch
it's
this anywhere.
not too short and it's not too long.
Yeah, but it's just it tells the story without embellishing, and it kind of and in a way that a short film does really trains you to be able to tell a story in a specific amount of time.
Right.
But this movie, what's funny, I didn't even notice it until we were in the edit, but Anchorage has 137 curse words, and I know this because we had to get ratings, not different ones, 137 times expletives are used. And I had to get a rating for the movie in the UK when we did our UK release. I had to pay for that. Somebody had to sit there and watch it and then write all these things out. And I was able to find out how much language is used in the movie. Well, in my next one, there's zero. And it wasn't because I was like, I want to do this other thing. The movie just called for a totally different type of dialogue and these characters. And it's about this man that has a terminal illness and is choosing um, to not continue treatment, and how, and these two characters that are very close to each other trying to figure out how to say goodbye to each other.
Wow.
Uh, so it's really sad.
Yeah.
I think that I like beautiful but sad and a little dark movies that are also fun, if that makes sense. And so this is, I think,
But they're real.
but they're real. It's life,
Real.
right?
Yeah.
Like one of my favorite things is that laughter that comes right after a cry. You know, you're like talking with someone about someone you've lost or a family member or something,
Right.
and you're both crying, and then someone decides to say the thing that makes both the people laugh, and how healing that is. I think that's life, is like right on the other side of pain is pleasure or joy, or right on the other side of sadness is happiness, right on the other side of fear is confidence and strength, and these things that you didn't expect to find. So I think that I like to make movies that explore that and let scenes that shouldn't be funny be a little funny, and scenes that you wouldn't expect to be, and I think that is something that exists in Anchorage, and it's something that with Margot and Julian, I have continued to explore. And so, I mean, we're currently with that film, we are wrapping up post-production.
Mhm.
We're finishing sound design, and we'll be submitting to festivals at the end of this month
Okay.
for 2027. So it'll be out soon.
That's
I'll
awesome.
do festivals soon, and we'll see what happens after
The
that. But
GoFundMe you have still active?
yeah, so we raised the whole movie on GoFundMe. I had
Okay.
$0. I was my distributor for Anchorage went bankrupt and never paid us a penny.
Ooh.
And yeah, Screen Media they were called. And so I had $32,000 of debt that I had to pay off
You didn't do any
over.
crowdfunding for Anchorage whatsoever,
We did it for the post-production.
just for the post production. Yeah.
Yeah, but
Okay.
what happened is I put a lot of the film, we can go over a little bit, it's fine. I put a lot of the film on credit card and with the plans of being able to work my job I was doing at the time to pay it off. But then
Mm,
COVID hit and I wasn't able to work at all. So I had these two credit cards that were maxed out
mm,
at 20% interest or whatever, and it was just every month was going up and up, as
mhm.
well as us traveling for the festival,
That
deliverables
happened to me too during
costs.
COVID. I can relate to
Yeah,
that.
yeah, and then so I had this movie that was supposed to be my life raft when it released, top three most popular streaming on Rotten Tomatoes,
Mm,
with no marketing done from their team. It was all from our own self-generated marketing, and then they went bankrupt and never paid us, and so I was left with that money to pay off over a year and a half. And so when it came time to make this movie basically as soon as I was debt free from my last one, I was like, I'm gonna make another one in October.
wow.
And I had no money, but I started piecing the team together and started a GoFundMe. And this incredibly generous person on Instagram who loved my last movie, Anchorage, gave me $5,000. It was one of the first contributions to the film. And it's just one of those beautiful things of like you
Right.
never know what's going to happen with your situation and what I don't know. There's something about this movie specifically after after what I experienced with the kind of the wild swing of success into this like really pit of what debt can feel like and how insurmountable that can feel,
Right.
um, to this film being like it really wanted to be made. And not that it was easy, because it was still hard. It's hard to reach out to people and ask for money for a movie that doesn't have a script or a production schedule to say, or a budget at the time, and say, "Oh, this is when we're shooting, this is what it's about."
Right.
And but we raised $41,000,
That's incredible.
which is pretty crazy. And we're still raising. The GoFundMe is still live.
Right.
We're trying to raise the last bit for to help with sound design and festival submissions and stuff like that. But I'm gonna make the movie either way. So
Well, I'll definitely make sure that the GoFundMe is, talked about in the posts.
yeah,
You can do like, separate things for that too.
yeah, cool,
And your bio will have like a listing of, all your links and what you want to really
cool.
feature. Because I really just want to support you and your vision and what you're doing. I just think it's really great to meet someone as humble and as talented, and I think you're like a very creative, like visionary,
Oh,
and
thanks, man.
in that sense. And it's just I've been working in this industry so long. And have you ever just like met somebody that you thought was going to be, you know uh, maybe even someone you've looked up to growing up, in the
Yeah, yeah,
industry,
yeah,
and
yeah,
just
for
been
sure.
totally let down by their demeanor and their attitude,
Yeah.
and not what you thought that person was going to be. I learned that lesson really quick because I got involved in the music industry when I was 20 years old.
Oh,
And
okay.
20, 22, I was running music venues, like the booking for music venues. And
Yeah,
that's how I got my start. And I had to learn the hard way that,
yeah.
be a
Never
nice
meet
guy
your
in front of
heroes.
the, yeah. Never
Yeah,
meet your hero.
there's a reason why they say that. I mean, it's a
Yeah.
bummer when it is true. We Dakota taught me this thing that was good guys, like it's a good guys bad band or bad guys good band, or there's all these different things where you go to like and it applies to films too. Sometimes you see a really great film and then you meet the filmmaker and he's a dick and you're like, well, fuck that guy. And that's like good guy. That's a bad guy, good band, kind of situation, which is the worst. And it's so rare, but sometimes you meet good guy or girl, good, good band, and that's just the best. And you want to hold on to those people. I was very, very lucky to meet a lot of those people. I think that's one of the one of my favorite things about making a movie is sharing it with people and then going and supporting other people's work while you're at festivals and the camaraderie that gets built by lifting each other up.
That's
And also
exactly.
just like supporting each other and meeting other people that are making things, because like you were saying, like you have a lot of respect for just anything being made and completed and finished. One of the really fun things about transition, I guess, from living in Los Angeles to being in a film festival was that in Los Angeles, there's a lot of people that talk about doing things
Mm,
and talk about that they're a director or they want to make movies. And when you go to a film festival, you were there with people that made them, that did
right.
the thing that they said they were going to do. And, I think, yeah, I mean, when I think about, I like you said humble, which it's thank you for saying that, but I um I didn't think, I didn't think that I was capable of much. I've always felt like this drive and like this passion and love people. Um, but when it came to like creativity, it wasn't until this warehouse collective, Play Collaborative Arts, and then Ceaseless Fun that I learned that, oh, I have actually a lot of life experiences and these pieces of me that have felt disparate when put together make a lot of creative ideation, a lot of ingenuity comes from that.
Right.
But I never thought that I would be able to make a movie. I mean, I think if I told my younger like kid self, he would have been like, yeah, of course, dude. We're running around with the VHS. Of course that's going to happen to you.
Right.
And I think that, you can kind of go through life and especially drugs and alcohol and violence and those things can really beat down your self-esteem to a point where you put on this, maybe you're putting on a mask to the world of what you think you're capable of, where maybe deep down inside you feel, I don't know, but this movie really gave me an opportunity to show myself. And I think that all of my films are going to be very personal. I mean, this next one is about I play a character that is processing his death while he's still alive. And I think, and trying to share that with someone. And what you'll love about that one is for someone that loves punk, there's an incredible band called Molly Horses. My
Okay.
friend is in it. It's a punk band up in, or post punk or whatever, up in
I
Los
know it's not
Angeles.
hard to classify music these days.
I know, and especially for me, I'm like doing my best, but they're incredible. And they let us use two of their songs that are in the film. So like not just as score pieces, not as score pieces, but as music that the two characters are listening to in the film, which is really fun.
Oh, that's rad.
Uh, and then the lead singer of that, one of the lead guitarists of that band, also has an ambient rock project called Cashmere's, and he did the score for the film. So it's really got this interesting soundtrack that you wouldn't expect in a sad movie like this. It has this other kind of, I don't know. I think music has always been a really important part of my life and it helps me process things. So it only makes sense that um, I saw someone say that like I make movies so people have to listen to the music I like. And I was like, man, I relate with that so hard. I love Molly Horses and the entire band. I love his experimental side project called Cashmere's,
Right.
and I made a movie so that features them both in some ways. So I'm excited for that one. I can't wait for you to see it. It's like I think it takes what Anchorage does and expands upon it and slows things down a little bit. And but it's really, if I play them side by side, if you were to put them on two screens next to each other, I think that unintentionally there are a lot of similarities that you could point to, that is maybe saying that I have some kind of I don't know, I have the things that I like going back to. So I'm excited to continue making more movies and find out what else is in there.
Yeah, I love that. Um, when do you expect to release the film? Do you have a
Uh,
targeted date, or are you just
no,
gonna play
so
it by ear?
so when we finish the film, we'll start submitting to all the festivals for
Okay.
2027,
Mm,
Sundance, all anything that's open for the 2027 year, we'll just start submitting our way through, hoping for the best.
Okay.
It's an incredibly competitive market right now. There's a lot of people making movies. It's easier than ever to make movies, which is so awesome.
Yeah.
But it just makes it incredibly competitive, and not just in numbers. People are making incredible films.
Yeah.
If somebody gave me, yeah, I mean,
Well, the
so
accessibility is uh,
yeah.
both music and film. It's just like a push of the button now, you know?
Yeah. But so we'll submit, and then we'll see how it goes, and we'll build our festival run. And I'm interested to see what happens with distribution with the film. I'm just curious about all of it. I
Do you
have
have a
to
distributor lined up, or are you still shopping for one?
I'm not shopping for one right now. I mean, at the moment, I am just focusing on finishing the film and then
Okay.
submitting to festivals, and
Sure.
we'll kind of see what festival you get into can sometimes dictate what the end route is. And it's all
Right.
stuff I'm looking into companies and stuff like that, but
Okay.
I might self-distribute like what I experienced in my last film. It's like I might actually just do it on my own. And there's a lot of tools for me to do that in a way that I can keep the money and keep it handcrafted
Right.
and build a team specifically for that type of release. But the plan is to festivals for 2027, and then either that year, maybe
Okay.
2028, I would imagine the movie would probably come out publicly, but you never know.
Yeah.
The magic could happen. You could submit to Sundance and someone loves your movie, and then you're releasing in June. I don't
Right.
it really we have no idea. So but stay tuned. We're on Instagram at Margot and Julian. I'm still on the Anchorage account. I use that one, which is at Anchorage Movie.
Hmm.
And I update things on there as well. So we'll see.
Awesome. That's I'm so excited for you.
Thanks, man.
Your director debut was a smash hit. I love it
Yeah.
in my book. And
Go
I can't
watch
wait.
it.
Yeah, go watch it. Go watch Anchorage, and this new film coming out. And is there any like notable work you've done as an actor in the past that you would recommend people to go check out?
Yeah, I mean, if you're into like B movie horror comedies,
Mm.
satires, my first feature film as an actor was to play this character Curtis Albright in the movie I Was a Teenage Wereskunk.
Okay.
It's a straight satire of I Was a Teenage Werewolf. It's really silly. We made it on for nothing with all of the people we were working with at this restaurant called Little Dom's in Los Angeles, and it holds a very special place in my heart. But most of the stuff that I'm really proud of is that I've done as an actor is on the stage. And one of the reasons why I've shifted into wanting to make my own movies is because it just exists in this world for this like small audience of people that get to see it, maybe 1,000, maybe 2,000 people total. And then there's nothing, there's no record of it. It's just this experience you hold on to yourself. So, um, but yeah, I would say watch Anchorage and watch Where Skunk. And I have a small part in my friend's movie Love Shot that Dakota's the lead in. So if you want to see a
Okay.
movie that Dakota stars in, that's directed by a friend of mine, Stephen Fine, that's called Love Shot, and I'm sure that's available on Amazon. But so is Teenage Wearskunk, and maybe save it for Halloween. But it might give you a costume idea. I don't know. It's like a
Okay.
1950. It's like 1950s like sock hop era costumes. It's really silly. Um,
I can
yeah.
dig it. I'm a big Elvis fan. I don't know if you can see that in the background.
Oh, well, then you're gonna love it, dude. I literally I'll tell you this, there's this scene called The Smell of Love, and he had this like musician friend of his, like from Boston, make this song that's about it's like literally the theme song of the movie. And his idea for it was that I would dress up in this like Elvis costume and do this whole like dance with these like skunkettes. It's
I
so
love it.
silly, dude. The
Hey,
my love interest in the movie is on roller skates the whole time, and she's like a foot and a half taller than me. It's amazing.
that's fun. I mean, it's fun. I mean, there's nothing wrong with being silly, you
Have
know?
fun,
I mean,
make
yeah.
movies, man. I mean, my agent at the time told me not to do it. He said, "This is going to ruin your career." And I was like, "What are you talking about? This guy wants me to be the lead in a feature film called I Was a Teenage Wereskunk. What
Yeah.
could go wrong?" Um, I think I'm doing all right.
I think so. I think so, man. And it's just I can't wait to see what the future holds for you, you
I do
know?
too. Me
Yeah.
too.
Yeah.
I'm
Uh,
excited to see what comes for you.
Thank you. I appreciate that. It's just I love music and I love film so much. And the more I'm doing music videos, the more I'm falling in love with the process.
Yeah.
I'm very thankful to have, the cinematographer. He just hires like random guys. And
Yeah.
shout out to Craig Ryan. He's doing post-production on his first documentary about a friend of mine who had a heart transplant at age 55, and it's
Oh,
his life
wow.
story growing up in El Centro. Um, he grew up with the actor Donald Logue.
Oh,
Uh,
no way.
so Donald, I actually had him on one of the episodes of the podcast a couple years ago, and Donald's helping, with some creative input, and he's featured in it as well. And the hardest part is explaining to someone that has no experience with film or the creative process
Yeah.
is how long it takes.
Yeah.
And I
Especially
understand the guy's
documentaries.
gone through so much. I mean, he battled congestive heart failure for 10 years, but now he's finally, that he sat down with my video production guy, he's realizing that, hey, this is going to take a very long time. And we're
Yeah.
doing this literally on a shoestring to little to no budget.
Yeah.
We haven't crowdfunded anything because I've already done so much crowdfunding for him in general, because guy
Yeah.
has
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
been able to work since 2021. I know.
Tough.
And yeah. But anyways, that's a whole nother process that I'm learning. And I like to, not overwhelm myself, but put my
Yeah.
hands in different types of creative projects.
Hmm.
I was gonna ask you earlier if you're just a music lover, or if you have any musical talents or anything like that.
I can sing. I went to conservatory, so I can
Oh
sing.
wow. Okay.
And then I play like sound instruments, but not, I have like a Paiste like 28-inch gong and then like some
Nice.
sound bowls, like Tibetan sound bowls. So I do that, but I don't have any instruments. I
Okay.
have ADHD like pretty severe and I don't medicate.
Same.
So I just like drink a lot of coffee and that kind of does it.
Yeah.
The safest stimulant. I was using other things before, uh yeah, so I just haven't ever really been able to sit down and connect to like an instrument yet. But the gong, it's a symphonic gong and it's an intuitive instrument. Um so I don't know. I like doing that, but
A lot of healing properties in sound frequency.
yes, I mean that's the whole thing for I mean that's why I got interested in it. It helped me. It was my pathway into meditation because my brain wouldn't shut down without something to listen to. And then being able to I like lead sound baths or do that kind of stuff. I mean, a lot of my work in my life is really about whether it's like psychedelics or sound healing in that way, or just like going in deep and like processing all this stuff, like
Right.
psychological stuff about life and my life and what it means to be human and what it means to exist and create. It's kind of what I feel like I was brought here to do is to help ideally like with this movie Margot and Julian, my hope if Anchorage was made for somebody that had experienced addiction within their family or that had experienced it themselves, for them to feel seen and to be understood and not to
Mm.
feel judged in the film. I think with this one it's to show how brave you have to be to sit next to somebody that is dying. And the bravery that Madison's character Margot shows in this film is really showcased in it. But also, I wanted to make a film for those people that have some form of an invisible terminal illness, which is a lot of people where you can't see it from the outside, and they're processing the end of their life while people don't really know that. And I wanted to make a film that there's not a that they're never in the hospital. It's not about specifically looking at Julian's character as a patient that
Right.
is that is being treated. It's about looking at a human that is processing these things. And honestly, like the illness and his decision around it isn't it's what the film is about in some ways, but it's not really similar to Anchorage. It's shown rather than told. And so I just hope that maybe somebody would watch this film that didn't get a chance to say goodbye to somebody and it gave them hope of, or someone that is choosing this this similar pathway and feels like, oh, maybe this is something that could be accepted by people that are close to me, or maybe just give somebody an opportunity to cry about someone
Right.
they've lost.
Yeah, I
So,
mean, that's, like I keep going back to the film and music, but that's
yeah,
beauty of those arts.
yeah. Well,
You
dude, that's
never
why
know who's going to connect with like a certain song,
yeah,
certain role or film or whatever. And like, you're already talking about, you know, the premise of this film coming up. And I just had a friend pass away from cancer, and
oh man, I'm so
I
sorry.
did not have a chance to, I caught wind of it too late. And I didn't have a chance to go see him in hospice before he got induced into coma and passed away. And
I'm
that's
so
happened to
sorry.
me a few times, but I've had to say my final goodbyes. And I don't know if you've had to do that before in your life.
Yes, yeah,
Yeah. So you can totally understand, like, it is I almost like am tearing up, like thinking about it. It's just the hardest thing to do.
yeah,
It's like,
man.
what do you say, like, to this person?
Hmm.
Like, what is your
That's
final message going to be?
this movie will get you then. I mean, it was a really hard thing to edit and to work on.
Yeah,
Just because I've lost people that I didn't get to chance to say goodbye to, and it's my own way of processing that. And yeah, man, I mean, I think my mom saw a cut of it and she was crying. And at the end of it, my dad was like, "Oh, was that because you were seeing your son on screen?" And she was like, she just lost her dog that was only 9 years old to a brain tumor,
oh no.
just kind of suddenly. And that's what she was feeling. She was feeling the loss that she was feeling for Charlie. And so. Yeah, man, I'm excited. I'm excited for these Q&As of this film and for the people that this will reach, whoever that is and however that happens, to hold the space for this conversations around death and those
Right.
people that we didn't get to say goodbye to because, or even the ones that we did. Maybe you wanted to try it again. You only get one chance
I'm gonna send
sometimes.
this to my own mom.
Oh
My
yeah,
my mom is the reason why I have this career, because it's her clinic that she works at. And
moms are the best.
yeah, it was either go be a trainer at a gym with a specialty in nutrition, or do something like this that could that has blossomed now, going in my 6th year doing it, into a beautiful career.
It's
And
incredible.
like, we deal with cancer patients all the time.
Yeah.
And her best friend we're treating right now with esophageal cancer, and it's just like so rough. And my mom had a scare,
Yeah.
like a year ago, when she
Oh
went
man, I'm
for
so
her
sorry.
routine mammogram, and they had to take a little bit out, and then they found melanoma, luckily, in her nose, and we were able to take that out and watch her go through that painful process, and how strong she is.
Yeah.
She's a very tough woman. She has a thing called sisu. I don't know if you saw that film, the action film that came out,
I
but
haven't seen it, but it's like right on there on my list. You know what I mean?
watch both of them.
Okay.
They're great films. There's a dog that has a lot of spiritual symbolism in it too.
Mm.
And there's a lot of things that you can take away from that film. But
Oh,
Sisu
cool.
is a mindset that Finnish people have. So my mother's first generation, born and raised there, moved out to the States when she was 19 years old, and has never forgotten where she's come from. And
Cool.
got into holistic and integrative health and energy healing in the 90s,
Oh, that's
when it was
amazing.
really like not a commonplace thing. Met her
Yeah.
business partner, was a hotshot cardiologist that's 10 years younger than her, had a pre-built career. Ended up being the head of cardiology for Scripps out here, Scripps Green. And then just proud of, like, you know how my mother was able to show her a different way of looking at health,
Mhm.
Eastern, Western, and holistic, mind,
Yeah.
body, spirit. And working in this type of environment, and the training I've had to go through, just when you think you know yourself, you don't.
Yeah.
And I've learned so much more about that than anything. And even doing the show, I just do this show as a passion project. I don't
Yeah.
care how big of an audience I have. I mean, I'd love for, to have a large audience, like anybody, but it's just like I want to put myself out there. And I was motivated by the guy I'm doing the documentary for to start
Oh,
this show.
cool.
Because I
Yeah.
asked him, I was like, it was a simple little catch up meet and greet. And he was just an acquaintance I knew from running, clubs. And
Yeah.
I was really touched. And I saw it as a sign because he had his surgery, his heart transplant on my birthday.
Wow.
And I know it sounds kind of weird for some people, but I saw that as a sign to reach out to him. So I waited a good 6 months afterwards till he was able to finally, like, meet me for lunch. And him
Yeah.
telling his story, and he's a former like drug counselor, was so empowering and captivating that I said, I have to figure out how we can capture this.
Yeah.
I just started doing a podcast. So I did it, a couple sample episodes before I got to him, just to, it's
Get your bearings.
one thing being interviewed, and then being the host is a whole nother story.
Yeah. Yeah, for
So
sure.
yeah, and
You're
then
doing a
we
great
got
job.
around to that, and then once we were done doing fundraising for him, and he's still unable to work all these years later. We decided to do this documentary, and I spent 2.5 years doing it, and I shot it all on my cell phones because
Nice.
I didn't have the budget, coming out of COVID, to just drop like 3 grand on a nice camera or something like
Yeah.
that. I didn't want to like sit here, and I didn't have the budget, and I get an incredible deal, with the cinematographer I work for, because
Yeah.
he's just one of us. He's just like, I'm with you on what you want to do creatively,
Yeah.
and I can't wait to put this out into the world. You know what
Yeah,
I mean?
man. Can't wait
Yeah,
to see it.
yeah. Just like I watched your film. I hope you can, take away the same kind of impact or a similar impact, and relate to, like, what we're putting out there. Because this guy battled drug addiction. I mean, he was in
Yeah.
prison with his own father growing up in El Centro out here,
Wow.
not far from
Yeah.
know,
Yeah.
the the desert and where you were filming. I had
Yeah.
to go out and shoot scenes out there, and it just kind of was like, eh, learning more and more about this guy's history. It was just, it was really impactful, and
Yeah.
I'm proud to do this. So,
Cool.
but yeah, but anyway, back to you and everything. I really appreciate, having you on here, and you telling your side of the story, and a little bit about your life, and what motivated you to get where you're at. Typically I go back to the very beginning when you're a kid and work our way up.
Yeah.
um, that was kind of the structure and the format I used to do, but we've covered a lot of that already, so I
Yeah,
don't
we
even
got there a little
past
bit.
that. Yeah.
Yeah.
um this part of the show, I like to have people, you know uh just like you're saying, you wanted people to, like, to relate to what you've done artistically. I like people to leave a quote or some kind of message to people that may hear this or watch this or both, because I release it, on all the podcast platforms and on YouTube, uh, that may want to get into your craft of acting, filmmaking. Like, what kind of message would you want to say to people, uh, to help motivate or inspire them?
Hmm. I would say don't wait, you know, start immediately. Whatever it is because if you wait for the agent or you wait for the right script or you wait for, you know, there's no reason why you can't start right now. You can get out a piece of paper and start writing down what it is that you want to either make or what your pathway is or what steps you need to take to get to where you're going. There's so many things that you can do on your own these days. So if you want to be an actor, you can get into a class next week. You can get into classes and start working on your craft. You can go to the bookstore and read some plays and start rehearsing them with friends or find other actors in the city or I get a little annoyed with anybody being like, oh, all you need is an iPhone to make a movie. And it's like, no, there's so many, it's like that's not because I just think you got to just get out there and just do the thing and not wait for anybody to tell you yes, because that yes has to come from within you. So just don't wait. There's no guarantee that you're going to have tomorrow. There's no guarantee that you're going to have the next 6 months to do this thing. And whatever that is you want to create and whatever is coming up in you, if you want to make something, you're going to lead something, or You want to help produce films. Producers are so valuable. There are so many people in the film industry that need people that just love movies and want to make them happen. There are people that so many valuable parts on set that are not just the actors and the directors. And I have people reach out to me quite often on Instagram and by email about asking to score my next movie and sending samples and actors sending me reels. I make these like small, like kind of two-hander films, but
Yeah.
I look at all of these things and I appreciate and I always listen to their materials and I send them an email back and it's not it's reach out to people. Who cares if they don't email you back?
Yeah.
Shoot your shot
Well,
because
that's why I reached out to you in the first place.
yeah, I'm
I was
glad
so
you did.
blown away. I went and looked you up, looked at your
Yeah,
bio a little bit, and I mean, you got back to me in such, a quick fashion, and you were so nice about it. Yeah, yeah, sure. And it was short little chit chat. I mean, I could have been anybody, you know what I
here we
mean?
are.
And here we are talking about this, and it has been such a fun, 90 minutes getting to know
Been
you
great, man. I
on a personal
appreciate it.
level, having you on this show. It's a pleasure to meet people like you that are just, I keep going back to visionary because you know,
Yeah,
and I feel like some of the most talented people going back to ADHD that have
yeah,
ADHD
yeah,
are some of the
for
most
sure.
talented and creative people I've ever come across.
Yeah,
And
got to
I
put that energy somewhere.
exactly. And that's
Well, Anchorage played at the San Diego Film Festival back in 2021. So maybe if the timing works out, we'll come back with
please do, because
Margot and
I can
Julian.
connect you with a lot of different people out here.
Yeah, I would love to.
And I'm going to send this to a lot of people that I know that are
Cool.
filmmakers, and there is like a like film industry that's been cultivating and
Yeah,
building
for
even
sure.
more lately. There's a production house not even far from where I live, like 10 minutes
Oh,
from where I live.
cool.
Yeah, if you're ever out here, I'd love to, give you a tour and introduce you to these people.
Yeah, I'll hit you up if I'm
Anything
ever
I
in
could do
town.
to help, like promote you, I
Yeah,
mean, that's in my DNA. I'm just
I'm the
kind of
same way,
wired,
man.
you know what I mean?
I like to help people too. So
Yeah.
I really appreciate that. And thanks
Yeah,
for
of
having
course.
me on. And thanks for everybody that watched and is here supporting this guy. I would say watch some of his other episodes, listen to his music. That's all we can do is try and support each other and lift each other up.
It's
So
all one
thanks for
love,
the
baby.
opportunity.
All one
Yeah.
love.
Yeah,
Yeah.
man.
And that wraps up another episode of the King's Couch. It's a pleasure having you on,
Thank
Scott.
you.
And go ahead and make sure that you watch Anchorage. Make sure that you watch his next film coming up. Look at his IMDb. He's been in a bunch of other, TV shows and films and whatnot. And yeah, support the craft and make sure you hit the like and subscribe button.
Yeah. It's right here or
Yeah.
wherever it is.
And,
All
and
right, guys.
make sure you click on the bio too, so you can connect with this guy right here and everything that he's doing. So
Cool.
yeah, awesome. Thank you for coming on once again. I appreciate your time.
Dude, no worries.
All right. Well, we'll see you next time. It's been like I said, it's been another episode of the King's Couch. All right.
The King of Kings. There is only one.